live on YouTube and Instagram. Let's
Hey,
see,
and
YouTube. Wait, hold up. Here we go. Here we go. Wait a second. Here we go. Everything's a little cranky right now. Here we go. Still waiting on up YouTube. All right, we are officially live, everyone.
hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Making Turbo Pit Fighter. I'm Jake, there's Kurt, and we also have Alex Turbin today.
In the house.
So we are a three-piece power trio.
Power trio.
And today we have a lot of sci-fi post-apocalyptic delights for you. Kurt, you got a color cover there. Haven't seen you work in color in a while on this broadcast anyway.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. No, these are I got a new set. I think this is a 48. These brush pens, just like the good old fashioned here Sharpies. So 17, I think 17, 18 bucks for 48 colors here. All these I probably won't ever use. But yeah, I'm just really pushing my paint marker thing.
Yeah.
I'm actually heading into some color pencils, and then it'll get a whole, she'll get a very fresh outline again in black strong ink, brush and the high C stuff. So yeah, that's your cover. Is that what you're thinking for?
Well, it's what I had that I was working on when you hit me up, but I'm not sure. I left a little room at the top.
This is an old one. This is an old one.
No, this was made recently, but it's in a cheap sketchbook. I left a little room up top because if this is going to be the anthology, we need to know what it's going to be called, right?
What the anthology's called?
Wait 1 second. You're losing me for a second.
All right.
You sound yeah, this is going to be the next 6 pages of Turbo. It's going to be the Ken Landgraf, the casualties, and we're going to have we're planning to have Alex have a 10-pager in there maybe. But what's this thing going to be called?
Well, right now it's been teaser number 3 / anthology.
Turbo Teaser 3 anthology.
Right now, up to today, this moment.
So I was thinking Doomzine, but I looked that up and somebody had that already. There was already a comic zine called Doomzine. So how about, I was thinking if we just call it Doom Magazine?
We really need to stay with Turbo Teaser as basically the SEO. Basically we want to keep people on point that this is only a teaser. It's just now expanded into an anthology of material. So I don't want to start branding Doom Magazine as a confusing third layer of it. Like right now, our channel and our branding is completely Turbo Pit Fighter. We added the teaser in order to do 1 and 2. Teaser 3 is the next 6 pages. We're just expanding into the anthology. So, at this point, it's just Turbo Teaser number 3 / anthology. Getting fancy names on comic books and all that kind of, I just find to be horribly confusing when people are trying to search for said thing.
Kind of important though.
What
To
is?
get it right.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to accurately describe it. This is anthology is important to get out there, or it's not like the other Turbo teasers, so it includes the Turbo teaser. So if you're just worried about SEO, I wouldn't worry about what's printed on it. I would just, that's all digital stuff. But I just need to know what to write up here.
Anthology. Turbo teaser number 3. Anthology.
I don't love that. I don't love anthology.
Anthology teaser.
Maybe it should be something like universe or world or
Right. I was thinking,
all encompassing.
Right. I was also thinking about Turbo Zine. Or the end of the world timeline. Yeah, but that's long.
Yeah.
That's so long for up here. Kurt, is your audio okay all of a sudden? No, you just disappeared.
Yeah, we lost him. It's definitely something that you got to get right as a name, like Funk. I'm not loving Funk. The name Funk.
Well, that's like a brand name that you're trying to build up from zero, right?
Yeah.
So that takes a while. But if you're if you haven't put it out yet, you could always change it.
Yeah.
Kurt, your audio's no good. Whatever happened before was really good. Could hear you bright and clear, but it went away. So
are you back?
I don't hear Kurt.
Yeah.
Alex, why don't you tell us what you're working on over there?
For what I have here, but what I went to get was I drew another picture of the Duke, and I forgot to find it. And I haven't shown it on Instagram or anything like that because his legs are too short. So I kind of screwed it up. But yeah, I'm in the process of thinking about the Duke, though.
Right. Well,
but this is a Crom. This is what for the Crom anthology that I'm kind of working on and doing stuff.
Right. I saw all the castles and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I have the blue line pencils here for my next page of Turbo number 2. I don't know if I should be trying to finish off that cover. I think we're supposed to be colorizing, but I can't do the rest of the lettering until I know what we're going to call it. We got to decide that right on the air while bickering. So one thing that we wanted to try and do today was kind of go over the plot of the 10-pager that you're going to be doing. So this is exciting. And I got this software called Heady AI, and I don't want to, lest anybody think I want to use AI. I don't want to use AI at all for coming up with any ideas or stories or anything. But this this thing is a great transcription tool, and it was designed for meetings. Kurt says he's going to jump out and jump back. Hopefully, it won't end the podcast. So we might have to restart. But
yeah.
Go ahead, Kurt. Do what you got to do. Hopefully, it'll leave us going. No, yeah, we're still here. So this, I explained this to Kurt already. You hit this button down here, and it's meant to take the minutes of a meeting, and while people are talking, then it kind of like gives you a transcript at the end, and that does seem like a valuable tool to me. I think at the very end they give you like some choices, like, do you want a summary? Do you want do you want the actual full transcript? Do you have any questions? You want to add anything, stuff like that. So I'm gonna, as an experiment, I'll try to run that while we begin our segment. And what you and I need to hash out is, I guess, the beginning and end point of the 10-pager, and and all the key plot points that happen in between, and then I'll deliver you a 10-page script.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Right. Yeah, no, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And we do need to consider the Duke, who is a character in the End of the World timeline that goes through a lot. But I think we were going to concentrate on the sequence where the Duke makes a frontal attack on the De Hubertons headquarters using a giant 6-story robot Gundam suit, and then he's secretly infiltrating their inner sanctum in a tunnel while that whole battle is going on as a distraction.
So, is that Kurt? Is that Kurt getting back in? No, I'm hearing stuff. So, like you were talking about doing stuff that the artist is interested in. I've been thinking about can we start from the beginning?
Yeah, the Duke's birth.
No, I think maybe it would it seems like the first interesting thing he does is the hover bike thing.
Right. Well, he's born into a family of hover bike inventors and manufacturers. Right.
I read your synopsises of the things. But he has some sort of there's like a hover bike gang war or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's hover bikes, and there's like air corridors, and there's a lot of illegal traffic, and there's the government agencies that are trying to clean up the skies of these anybody who's breaking the law. You're not supposed to be in the sky without a government registry. Right, and there's all these hijackers, and I guess people are just going to be flying around in the future.
Right.
So yeah, there's all that chaos going on, right?
Yeah. But there's a part where he attacks the biker gang that are stealing bikes or something like that.
Well, he is part of a when he's young, he's part of a bunch of him and his brothers are hijacking De Huberton shipments, corporate shipments. But I do have this part of the story where when he's about maybe 19 or 20, the government is at their last. The FAA is at their last straw, and they come to him to find out if they can deputize him to clean up the region, because he's better at flying than they are, and he knows the ins and outs of all the gangs and everything. So he makes like a kind of like a vigilante deal with them, where he can do whatever he wants as long as they as long as the people have no papers, as long as they have no registry, then he's like free to rob them or arrest them or shoot them or whatever. like things are gonna be.
What it seems to me like is the Duke is reading your descriptions of him. It seems like he goes through this pattern of violence, and it gets progressively worse and worse until it ends up with him killing the De Hubertons. Is that how you would say?
Well, yeah. Well, he definitely rises up as a resistance figure through all of his endeavors, and part of that depends what era, but when he's young, he's a wrestler and a big social media influencer, and then when he gets older, he runs for governor, and then he gets arrested and incarcerated, and then but I think this is all later in life. So we, if you want to include the part about the robot attack and the assassination, that's when he's older, because this is this is at the end of his life.
Right. So I would say either we could kind of like what I'm doing with Morgrim. I'm having like his birth and his origin and all that stuff in the first 10 pages, and then the second 10 pages. Well, actually, no, it's interspersed. Like the first 5 pages is birth and growing up and stuff, and then it's like his final adventure kind of thing. So we could go that route. Or I really kind of want to show the air cars, I mean the air bikes and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool. But even more than that is I'm super interested in the Duke and his path to violence. Like he starts out as this this air car person, or air bike.
Yeah, like a air marshal, a vigilante air marshal.
Right. But doesn't seem that super violent. But then he becomes a wrestler, which kind of increases the violence, and then he's the first pit fighter, right?
Right, and that's when wrestling ends and pit fighting begins.
Right. And it seems like it's just a constant like a progression of more and more violence that I don't like. Would you say that it almost is like he's a victim? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, we have to kind of like shape his personality.
Right.
We know that the whole society is being victimized.
Yeah, right.
By the corporate overlords, and and we know there's a lot of lawlessness growing, as society declines into more and more vigilantism and road gangs and stuff. One big part of this is going to be the rise of the cults, and biker gangs will just be one version of it, but like everybody's going to have to find some kind of group to belong to, otherwise there's no real way to survive once the government starts not providing services, and you either have to sign up with the corporation or you're on your own. So there's going to be a lot of people that join these collectives, and I call them cults for shorthand, because there's going to be so many different types of them. And that's all going to be like separate stories. But, with the Duke, there'll be, biker gangs. There'll be his family. He will have his network of pals and relatives and stuff, for support. But, when 10 pages is going to go pretty quick. So,
yeah. I'm thinking just like maybe an introduction to the Duke, and then, an introduction to the problem of the biker gangs, and then maybe some sort of scenes where he's taking care of the biker gangs or doing whatever it is that you're having him do.
So yeah, we could introduce him by showing him in a in a biker adventure, and then tell his story. In the Substack, I have one of his like the narrator is one of his assistants later on when he becomes a governor, but she could narrate his backstory in her voice, because that would match the Substack. And she also joins his team later on when he part of the attack team.
Yeah.
So actually I should correct that. The daughter of the woman narrates this.
Right.
My mom this and my mom that. Right. So because the mom will be killed in the attack, so somebody else will have to live to tell the story.
Yeah. How would you feel about like I was saying before in the email? How would you feel about telling the story in a series of flashbacks while he's fighting?
I like that. That's what I do in Turbo.
Yeah.
That could work. first thing we need to do is just get a complete list of everything that's going to be included, and
Right.
then we could definitely lay it out like that. Like that's just more the sequencing, right?
Right, right. Like, I have I'm envisioning where, although I don't know if we should start out with the him attacking the Dehubertans and then having flashbacks to other stuff, um, or wrestling and doing flashbacks.
Well, if we start out where where we're supposedly in real time, and he's on this mission, we need to. I mean, the big Gundam suit is going to be very big and splashy, right? So,
Yeah.
that we might want to use that like as a hook, and then we could do stuff like how did I get here? Like,
Yeah.
So if we go back to the some kind of battle that he's having on the air bikes, there's got to be some point to it that reflects to the modern day, like
Right. Yeah.
like I started out in a world of violence,
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
yeah. And the thing about the assassinations of the Dehubertans is that there's a time delay, of like decades before anybody finds out that he was the one that killed them all. So we need to think about the storytelling and how that's presented. Like we can show it happening, but the public doesn't learn about it until like 15 years later or whatever. I have it written down somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that we can't show all the action in our sequences. I just want to see. So we're gonna have an air bike fight. We'll show some of the wrestling, the Gundam suit, and the assassination. So that's 4 things that we're including, which would be like a page and like a little more than a page each. I mean, not even two pages would be 8. So if we concentrate just on these, is there anything else that we?
So, do you think it's possible that we expand this?
Well, we have we're hoping on a timetable where we're putting something out before the end of the calendar year.
Yep.
So that's our only constraint. By the way, if you notice, Kurt dropped out. He says he's going to be audio less.
Okay.
Although we can see him drawing his pretty wasteland over there. He's playing with his new paint markers.
Yeah, and I love how he writes stuff when we lose video or something.
Right.
So he could just keep writing.
So Kurt, you're remember he's putting in colored lighting effects. Remember, like you don't have to overdo it. If you get to a point, it's good. But we also were discussing what we're going to call this, because it looks like he has room up top for a masthead or something. What we gotta right. There's a lot of fill in there with the post-apocalyptic radioactive sky.
Yeah.
But that's room. I got the same thing going on in mine. So yeah, we got the air bike fight, the wrestling, and the wrestling could leak into the pit fighting. You could do that as a description, or you could actually show it. But
right. So do you think we could do 10 pages per era?
No, that would be too much. Here's what Kurt and I have been discussing. We're thinking of 32 pages plus covers. So we have the new Turbo teaser. We have the casualties that was just submitted from Ken Landgraf to Kurt for scanning. So that 6-pager brings us to 12 pages. We have the 2-pager for Chromita that we're going to run that we gave to you. So that brings us to 14 pages. Now, we were going to do 10. We were thinking about 10 pages from you. That would bring us to 24. And then if we had a 6-pager of Turbo pencils from issue number 2, with temporary word balloons, we were thinking about doing that. So that would bring us to 30 pages. And then the last 2 pages would be our updating our zine pages, and talking about the Substack and the end of the world timeline and everything. So that would be 32 internal. Now, if we didn't do the Turbo 2 pencils, that could be another 6 pages. But that would be 16 pages from you, all about the Duke, which would be kind of a long sequence, for the Turbo anthology. Like 10,
Yeah.
10 I think.
What about outside of the anthology? Like maybe just doing the 10 pages that we were talking about, and then planning on continuing it. It just seems like the Duke, there's so much stuff that he did.
Yeah, it's a whole lot.
It's hard to think that it could go into 10 pages.
Right, it's a whole life cycle. And the Substack gets into that. So that's why we were playing around with the idea of having some pages that are just illustrations with text. And I'm not sure if that's the way to go nowadays with comic audiences, but it definitely gets all the story out if we want to do it that way.
Right. I would much rather see it as a comic, obviously.
Yeah, nothing's better than sequential pages, but that would probably take more time to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Kurt wants to weigh in with hand signals or hand puppets, but that we everything we discussed up to this point was trying to get 32 pages. So either 10 from you would be a start, or more if we cut the Turbo pencils, pencil only preview, that would give us another 6, but that would bring us up to 16. But I definitely need to just know the length and then what to include, because I'll be fine like laying this out into a juicy script.
Right. I guess the question is, how much of the Duke's life do you want to fit into those 10 or 16 pages? I'm thinking probably the 10 pages if you're squeezing stuff in. That's why I was thinking maybe if you can continue it, or it could be like a continuing story somewhere else or something like that.
Yeah, you could just take on part of this and just say to be continued in a future, in the next installment of the Turbo anthology, right? It's going to continue. Like I'm very hopeful. Like I have a guy who says he wants to. He's a student. He says he wants to do a script that we wrote called The Company Man. So that's in the works for some point in next year, I guess. So it'll continue on. The casualties are very rich characters that Ken Landgraf is premiering in this anthology. So that's going to be exciting to see if somebody else would be taking on the sequential pages of that. So I'm all for the idea of just serializing.
Cool.
And if we do that, we can start out at any one of these points and not worry about getting them all into the 10 pages.
Right. For me, it's like the most powerful thing for me would be to see him killing the Huberdins, and then flashing back to either the very beginning or like going back sequentially to like the thing that that he did violently before that, which would be the pit fights, and then work backwards that way. So either way, I think works good, as long as it's done powerfully, I guess.
Yeah, well, if we build up, all the oppression, then that makes the assassinations a lot more meaningful.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so maybe want to showcase, something earlier, as a illustration of how bad the world is, and how he gets just pushed into more and more violence.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have scenes of where the Dehubertans um did their evil plots? You know, did
Um,
their dastardly deeds?
right. Well, that will be illustrated in the air bike fights, where it's the big corporations that are screwing everything up, and that's why everyone's so desperate. um, in wrestling, it could very easily be, the Duke, throwing a monkey wrench in the big corporate, entertainment presentations where they control the networks and they control the script and they control everything. And then the Duke just comes in and just beats their guy, and, that gets the crowd on his side and turns everything upside down.
Right,
Right. You know how all those wrestling stories go.
right, right.
And then it could be, they want to stop. He does a couple of shows like that, and he's the champion, and they want to stop him. So they say, well, this is going to be a death match, and they have the guy that they believe is going to kill him in the ring, and it'll be a big spectacle, and he's fighting for his life. So that'll be the first pit fight, right?
Right, right. But should there be a scene of the Dehubertans being really truly evil or bad?
Yeah. Well, I
Like
mean,
maybe killing, doing some sort, like kind of like the V for Vendetta, where it shows all of the horrible things that the different parts of the government are doing.
yeah, that the megapocalypse is going to come later after the Duke is gone. That's going to be the saga of Elavena, and it's closer to the year 2222.
Yeah.
We're all before. This is before that, and the whole idea about Duke was that he was this legendary figure, that everybody looked up to, and they have like lots of posters and stickers everywhere, in support of the Duke, and his memory. So,
Right.
while he's alive, we have to, document everything that he did, and to fight back and to inspire the resistance.
Right, right, right. But what I'm thinking is like the old adage is the best hero is against the worst villains. So you really have to have some good villainy. And so I'm just thinking maybe having the Dehubertans do something in particular, like, you know,
Well, they
blowing something up, or something horrible that makes the Duke really truly hate them enough to slaughter them.
when we get to the assassination, you mean?
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah,
like
the mass
you,
killers. I mean, what they've been doing for decades is subjugating people onto
right, right,
economic slavery, and
right,
they will be assassins. They will like kill they'll hire hitmen, and then they'll kill like politicians, and they'll kill their competition, and they'll blackmail, extortion, everything. But if we wanted, we could show scenes of the Dehuberton bad behavior, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you have like how many are in the family of, like, is there Papa de Huberton and
Oh yeah,
cousins? Is there like dozens of them, or
right. Well, that's a whole family tree.
right?
And they also married in. That's how they consolidated all the industries, by marrying in, and
Yeah,
and over the years. So there's a long history of that, and we could show that. But the Duke will really pop. He'll whack some of, like, the two or three main patriarch guys, in a real crushing blow. Kurt, you got some real high contrast in your background. I wonder if you're going to be matching that in your foreground because it's stealing your thunder. I know you. Yeah, you have a lot of detail in the background, and it seems like Turbo's not competing with it. She's got her light tone outlines there.
Is that something he's planning on adding in later?
My 2 cents. I don't know. No, it's coming out good. There's a lot to look at. So yeah, we can show scenes of that, and so we want to play up the injustice, right?
Yeah. Like, should that be first, or should that be part of the flashback?
Well, it depends on the dialogue, because if we start out with like in the world, we can explain anything we want to. But if anybody's reading the Turbo anthology, they already know that we're in this one world where everything's going to pot because of this one trillionaire family, and so we might not have to restate that in every section. With the sequential art, we could definitely allude to it in the dialogue and the narration. All things like one word balloon. Like 20 years of this, and now we now we have less people around. Yeah.
Right. But it just feels like the Duke is a tragic figure that I think it really should be driven home, the atrocities that the Dehuberisms have done to him, maybe personally,
right,
and or just society, like you're saying. But I definitely think it has to be driven home.
Yeah, it's a good point. We are going to drive that home in some of the other storylines, especially the Q druids. They're all going to be assassinated by and all of their scientific breakthroughs and discoveries is all going to be stolen. And so it's exactly what you're talking about, but we need to have some of that in the Duke storyline now too.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Kurt. I think Kurt popped something in the chat. Let me see what it says. By the way, folks, if you're watching us on Instagram, feel free to lay in some comments. And if you're watching us on YouTube, where you can see more of our screens, feel free to lay in your comments. Kurt says we need to end this podcast at 11 so he can reboot. We definitely have an interview later. Oh, so we have. I can't believe it's already 11. So yeah, we have a couple more minutes before we have to say goodbye. And Kurt's definitely having technical difficulties today with his audio. So this gives me a starting point, but I need to know. I'm giving you 10 pages. Like what I usually do is I usually thumbnail it out, right? And then we start to say, all right, this page is going to have A, this page is going to have B, and and that's going to be the 10 pager. We need to get some final input from Kurt though about the possibility of expanding this or sticking to our original plan to do a pencil preview of Turbo number 2 with temporary word balloons. That was the initial plan.
Right. But, also, if you have, do you have like design ideas for the robot and or how the sky bikes look and stuff like that, or is that just something that you'll leave to me?
I do have some sketches actually,
Okay.
but there's like a timeline. So I have some air bikes and some air vehicles from later when Pitchblende is the hero in. I definitely have a logo for the Duke of Vita brand, and I have so Sky Cycles could be very interesting to design.
Yeah.
And I was talking about I was talking with AI about like the reality of flying vehicles today, and how it's likely to work once they have technological breakthroughs. We can do anything we want in our storyline here, but the technology, I think it's going to be based on a lot of rotors, for the lift.
Yeah.
There'll be really, really powerful rotors, like electric rotors. But then you also have the propulsion, and there's they got to be lightweight, so all these kind of considerations. I really think about the science of it,
Well, once they create some sort of anti-gravity, I think that's the key to anything like that, because like the giant rotors is a great thought and stuff, but they're just so loud and clunky and stuff. So I think to really go forward with air bikes and stuff like that, you'd have to have some sort of breakthrough in some sort of anti-gravity or rocket propulsion.
Well, they will be more efficient. Like on the one air conveyance, it's more of like a laying down thing. I wonder if I have it handy here. There's no, how like there's like paneling on a car or a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So there's no more paneling. It's all just rotors, right? The whole thing is just a mesh of rotors. So there's no paneling, and so that every inch gives you lift and propulsion, right?
Right.
Because there's no sidewalls. I mean, I don't know why we're not doing that already now. I guess you need protection from the elements, but that could be handled through venting. I think. Anyway, it'll be fun to design.
Yeah. So if you have any pictures of illustrations of anything that you want me, just email them to me and I'll go through them and stuff.
Yeah, well, I could also show them on a future episode here, and we could go over them. But definitely. And so, am I going to be starting a script?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm going to be dealing with these first 5 pages here. And do we just want to like break off a chunk here and just do, because we can do we only have 3 minutes left, but we can do like a big air bike battle scene, and then we could just have allusions, not illusions, but allusions to what happens later, right? If this is all like in the past and being narrated, that was when the Duke was young and he was full of piss and vinegar. He would go out, and he actually got deputized by the FAA to be a vigilante air marshal and blah blah blah. So we could show the violence of the dehuberton. They're kind of like automated weapons, and then we could show like the alt boys, who are the vigilante groups, that also take to the skies, but they're all on the payroll, and we could just play around with that kind of stuff, and we could lay hints about what happened later, but I need to know from you what you prefer. Do you want to do a 10-pager just about that one scene, and then we'll do wrestling in a different thing, and Gundam suit in a different thing, and assassination in a different thing? We have 4 areas here that we want to cover.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter about when and where.
I really like the idea of starting out with the assassinations of the dehubertans, and you saying this is how my life of violence kind of perpetuated, and then going back to the air bikes, and then I mean, you could talk about his parents, or do a quick picture of his parents or something.
Well, we also have the ability to have a page or a half a page of text as a lead-in, to these sequences.
Nice.
And and we could also have a page of text after too.
Yeah,
But obviously, all the value is on the page, is on the sequential pages.
yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the text
Right.
that has directly to do with the story.
Right. Well, I mean,
It's like
I
that
think,
old adage, show don't tell in movies.
well, yeah. My biggest concern is that no one reads the text.
Yeah, there's another thing.
I mean, we're lucky if they read the word balloons.
Yeah. I mean, it's done. It's been done. I mean, Watchmen is a perfect example of it being done perfectly. The beginning, or I think it's at the end of the first chapter where he has the humorous part that turns into tragedy.
Yeah. All right.
It's
Well.
all kind of text.
All right. Well, we can pick this up later.
All right.
I'm not so sure how I would start with the assassination, and then, I mean, if we're doing the assassination in stages and then we go to flashback, because then we could really drag out the assassination. That might be fun.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be fun. All right. Yeah, good. That gives me a lot of great idea. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. This was a planning session, and we are going to follow up on this. I have my full transcription here, and I just got all this, like, everything we said was just captured for future editing, although I might not even need it because I took enough notes. But yeah, we want folks to come back next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern time and join us here on the Making of Turbo Pit Fighter. Don't forget to check out our other channels. We have Comics and Influence, where we do juicy flip throughs, and we also have the Indie Creator Exchange, where we do interviews. And that's where Kurt and I are off to right now. We're going to be interviewing one of the creators that we met at the ICCC. So tune in for that on our channels as well. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for coming today, Alex.
Hey, no problem. My pleasure.
Peace, my brother.
Peace.
All right. And now Kurt's going to hit the button, and he says,